Hey, loves, welcome. Thank you so much for coming to my podcast. Well, today we are going to be talking about eating disorders. Number one thing that I want to be so transparent about is for many years, I've been suffering from an eating disorder, which, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, is something that I didn't think I had. I didn't even think it existed. I mean, what the heck, you know? So anyways, guys, my name is Jocelyn. That don't know me, I am a wellness coach. I'm also a mommy of three, very busy mommy of three. I do work full time, and I'm also a wellness coach. So I am, I definitely have my hands busy. Thankfully, my husband is really good at managing some of the things that I cannot do, which definitely helps me. Now, I wanted to just come on here and talk about what eating disorder I'm talking about. So that many that don't know, I was always morbid obese, most of the time. I want to say most of the time. And it became one of those things where I just knew me as being the big girl. I just really didn't think anything of it. I was just like, this is me, what am I supposed to do, right? So the thing is that I never knew that my eating disorder was actually hereditary. And I'll get to that in a minute, because it's really interesting that I did not know this until I started doing my research. So, what eating disorder I have? Binge eating disorder. Binge eating disorder is just a loss of control over my eating. It's not like bulimia nervosa or the anorexia or anything like that. So, unfortunately, when we are in that mindset, we can't control what we do. Honestly, like, it's so difficult. It's almost like food is our drug. We go after it in one of those moments, and we just can't seem to stop the need to feel that fullness. So one thing that goes hand in hand with binge eating disorder is possible mental disorder, a mental illness, or anything. There's some factor that can cause it. With me, for many years, it had to do with my anxiety and also some slight PTSD from my childhood. But I can honestly say that I've been working every day to I guess this is something that I can't really get over. This is something that I can only control every day. So, for example, today I woke up and said, hey, listen, today, and I'm talking to myself, which is super freaking hilarious, but Jocelyn, you're going to do this. You're going to get up. You're going to do this the right way. You're going to stick to your meal plan. Now, the only problem is that I'm going to recommend to people with a binge eating disorder is you have to be a little bit structured. And if you do deviate from the structure that you set in place, you should really be thinking about, okay, should I put this in my mouth? Should I eat this? Should I drink this? Think about those things while you're doing it, because here's the thing. Once you eat that one chip that you really wanted, you're going to end up eating the whole bag. Because number one, you're restricting yourself. When you tell yourself, I'm only going to eat one, well, guess what? That one becomes 500. The same thing with cookies. If I have a bag of cookies and there's a serving size of 4, well, if I have the full bag, I'm going to eat the full bag, So one thing that I would highly recommend is get portion controlled, portioned size of like cookies or whatever the thing is, and don't limit yourself, because if you're limiting yourself, that's when the binge eating starts acting up again. It's like a lot of people don't think that binge eating is a disorder. Binge eating, it's not as serious as a lot of people think that may not be, but it is. Binge eating disorder can consume you. It can consume you so bad that you will withdraw from people, from your family, from your friends. You will want to stay in the house rather than go out because you feel disgusting. You feel like you're not worthy. You feel like, what's the point? Like, you just start feeling horrible. And that's when the cycle comes around where, like, I'm not good enough. I can't lose weight. Then you start gaining weight, and you try to lose weight for a little bit. You gain the weight back, and then you feel horrible. You don't want to go anywhere. And, it's an awful feeling. Now, I decided to start these podcasts because I feel like I can definitely relate to many people with an eating disorder, because it's like, I want to be real. I want to be raw. I don't want to, say, this works and that works. No, everybody has their own way of doing things. And I feel that I can give you some tips on what to do to overcome those eating disorders. Well, in particular, binge eating disorders, because I'm not really familiar with the bulimia or the anorexia. So forgive me, guys. I am only familiar with the binge eating disorder. Now, the crazy part is that my grandmother, paternal grandmother, she was morbid obese. My father was morbid obese. My father also, I believe, has an eating disorder. My grandmother did too. So upon research, I found that environmental factors and genes play a part in having a disorder, and hence binge eating disorder. Recently, I was actually looking for different treatment plans that would help me with my binge eating disorder. Honestly, I am controlled. I do get those moments where I will kind of like deviate from my diet and do things that I shouldn't do. So I know that consciously, like, I know what I'm doing, and I know it's just sometimes I just can't seem to control my emotions, and that's when I start overeating. And the good thing about knowing that you have something is there's ways to treat it. As long as you know you have a disorder, there's ways that you can definitely try to, remedy the situation, right? Now I after further research, I found that people with eating disorders can often have other mental disorders, such as like depression or anxiety, or, problems with substance abuse, or things like that. And to be honest, like me, myself, I do have anxiety. So I can definitely tell you, hands on, this is definitely like right on the money. The other thing is that you can do, as far as treatment plans, look around the hospitals, maybe your clinic, your doctors, your PCP, whatever you want to call it. They may have individual, group of family psychotherapy. They may have medical care and they can monitor you. There's also nutritional counseling, so you can see like a nutritionist, and it's a little bit more extensive work than just seeing a nutritionist. And also medication. I know that they once gave me medication like years and years ago, and I decided that definitely was not for me. So, I feel that find what works for you. What worked for me is to have structure in my diet, and I don't say diet, I mean more like a lifestyle change. You do need to change your lifestyle in order to minimize the amount of binge eating that you do throughout the day. And then eventually a habit, once you start doing one thing, like, okay, I'm going to start today, do it tomorrow, and you start building a habit. And so one thing that I would honestly recommend is to go to the FDA.gov website, because there you can find the latest information on warnings, patient medication guides, or newly approved medication for this type of condition, if you just want to do a little bit of more research for yourself. For myself, I did my research, and I find that medication is definitely not for me. I'm more of a structured type of person, so I know that if I structured my meals and minimize the amount of unhealthy foods that I have in my home would prevent me from overeating. Because honestly, what I overeat, like when I start having those binge eating moments, is when I have either chips, cookies, chocolate, things like that. Not just regular food. Like, like if I was to make myself dinner, I wouldn't eat like a plate of rice and beans and overindulge in that. It's more sweets, and for my case. And a lot of people that have that binge eating disorder, they pretty have a similar a similar thing, that they end up eating like all these types of junk foods and feel so uncomfortable with themselves, So I am doing these podcasts now because I feel like I can reach a broad audience, and I want to connect with people, and I want to be able to, share my experiences and what I do to help with this type of binge eating disorder. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that, but I definitely have experienced binge eating, and I want to just share what I have done to help me, and what benefits and what risks there are to it as well. So this is my first podcast, so I thank you all who have listened to this, and I am so excited to share with you my next podcast, which would probably be a breakdown of what I do to prevent the binge eating. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for hearing me out. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.